Adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio. And man, we were talking a couple weeks ago, I think it was, about raising prices. But I think today on the Positively Pipeman segment here with Michael Barbarita of Powerful Business Strategies and Next Step CFO, now we got to talk about the other side, cost cutting. What do you think, Michael?
There you go. Hope you're doing well, Dane. As businesses face increasing competition, market volatility, understanding your financial landscape is critical. It's always critical anyway, but cost management isn't about saving money. It's actually about allocating resources wisely and ensuring sustainability and setting the stage for growth. And every dollar saved can be reinvested back into the business, fueling innovation and fueling expansion. Business owners need to understand the intricacies of cost management and how it can be a real game changer for the business. And you got to remember that in business, every penny counts. So making sure yours are working for you is really critical. And there's two things that I'd like to get, if I don't do anything today, I'd like to get across these 2 points, because for the most part, business owners don't understand. There are two types of costs. There's two characteristics of costs. One is fixed costs and one is variable costs. And for the most part, your fixed costs, they really don't change. Like rent is a great example. Or annual software subscriptions. These are fixed costs that really don't change. And then there's variable costs. And these actually change based on your business activity. For the most part, sales. So if you produce more or sell more, you're going to spend more on things like raw materials or commissions or, even potentially advertising. So those are variable costs. And so by understanding your fixed and variable costs, you really can get a better handle on your business completely. So, most of your variable costs are in your cost of goods sold. So the costs associated with selling your product or services, those are usually the variable costs. And I included one of them called raw materials, some of them are payroll, direct labor payroll, that is. So not administrative payroll, that's more of a fixed cost. So by understanding your fixed and variable costs, it's a good starting point for cost cutting. And the thing about it is there's a couple of things that I see a lot in terms of areas that business owners can cut costs. Number one is, and this is abused a lot, it's unused subscriptions and memberships, whether it's a software tool that's no longer in use or a club membership that a business owner has forgotten about. These are costs that add up and they just keep hitting your credit card and you forget.
Especially now.
Right. And that's something you should review your credit card statement every month to make sure that everything on there is something that's active and that you're actively using it. So that's one thing I see a lot. I'll go through credit card statements with clients and many times I'll find one or two subscriptions that, I didn't know I had that anymore. I don't use that anymore. So therefore, there's the opportunity to cut.
I'll add to that too.
Please.
Is people, this is why they do, and companies do this, but people sign up for free trials and then never cancel. And so like me, when I sign up for a free trial, I actually put something in my calendar for when I need to cancel it if I don't want it. So it reminds me, I better cancel this before they charge my card. Because every time you're on a free trial, you have to give a credit card. There's a method to their madness, and, it's actually, that is how I think businesses make a lot of money nowadays, because they give out these free trials and nobody ever cancels till like way down the road when they figure out that they're still being charged.
Right. It's definitely an area that companies make millions of dollars with a year, and They don't have to deliver a service. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the second one is overstocking inventory. So holding on to excess inventory, as people should know, ties up capital. It leads to increased storage costs. And it's a waste, especially if the item is one that gets obsolete, whether it's perishable or like clothing that goes out of style. It could be as simple as that. Something that's really not perishable, but it goes out of style. No one's going to buy it.
Well, even think of cars. Okay.
Right.
So if they have a car on the lot that's from the last year, they need to get rid of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So holding on to excess inventory is something that business owners rarely review and understand the impact it can have on cash flow and expense. The other thing that business owners, for the most part, don't do is they don't leverage bulk purchasing. So buying in bulk can lead to significant discounts. And if you're purchasing the same item frequently but not in bulk, you're probably going to end up paying more than necessary. And this is where inventory management comes in. That's why I talked about overstocking, and now this time I'm talking about not taking advantage of bulk purchasing. But when you're efficient with your inventory, you don't overbuy and you take advantage of bulk purchasing. That's the most efficient flow of inventory that there can be.
I'll add about inventory too, is like so many people I've ever known in my life that are in a business that requires inventory, they stock inventory, and to them, it's like a bank account or their safety net, because that represents, money to them. Okay.
Right.
The problem with that thinking is, first of all, those items in inventory, like you said, they could go out of style. Something could happen where they get ruined. A multitude of things could happen. Whereas if you just had the cash, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Inventory can be a big problem for companies. Big problem. The other thing is not renegotiating contracts, whether it's with suppliers, service providers, landlords. Failing to renegotiate contracts periodically can mean you're paying more than the current market rate. And, a lot of people believe that just because they're under a lease means they're just married to it. And granted, you don't have a lot of leverage, but if you go back to the landlord with your hat in your hand and show them why you can't afford the rent increases that are coming up on your lease, I think that there's room for renegotiation, because it costs the landlord much more money to get a new tenant than it does to keep the existing one. And so that's the leverage that you actually have when you're a tenant. And people don't realize that. They just think that they're stuck with it. I have been involved in multiple renegotiations of leases, and very successfully most of the time, because of the fact that it costs more to get a new tenant than it does to keep an existing one. I mean, it's just like it costs more to get a new customer than it does to keep an existing one. It's the same
I talk about that
me.
all the time in my industry, because my industry is notorious for doing 13-week contracts. And usually in that 13 weeks, the people don't see the results they're looking for yet, and they don't renew. And so they're constantly, and we're talking the big boys,
Sure.
they're constantly looking for fresh blood. And my viewpoint is, I'd rather cultivate what I already have than always having to go out and get fresh blood.
Interesting. Yeah. Yep. I think that's the best practice.
Which leads me to something else too about cost cutting.
What's that?
It is the fact that if you're buying stuff, you talked about bulk, but how about the fact of paying for the year opposed to paying by monthly? Anything you buy, like a service.
Yes.
If you pay for the year, you get a substantial discount,
Yes.
and when you pay monthly, you're going to be paying a lot more. I think, funny as it may seem to bring this up, but one of the biggest offenders of that is people that sign up for online dating sites, because a lot of the online dating sites, they'll charge like $99 a month or something like that. but if you pay for a year, you can get it for $199 for the whole year. And people still pay monthly. And I'm like,
I
oh
know.
my God, what's wrong with you?
I
And
know.
they think because I'm going to meet somebody, I won't need it for a year.
Yeah.
You know?
But you're right. They do that with other subscriptions too. I mean,
Yeah,
they'll pay the
everything.
monthly instead of upfront. And that's where the efficient use of capital is critical.
Mhm.
And what business owners, for the most part, can't appreciate. The other thing I see, Dean, is late payments, late fees.
Oh, yeah.
That adds up tremendously for a lot of business owners because they just don't have an organized methodology to pay their bills. They have the cash, but it's not an organized methodology to pay your bills. Another thing I see is I'll see balance sheets that have $300,000 of cash, and they have a credit line that's outstanding for $100,000, and they're not paying down the line of credit, where they could save interest. And the interest now on lines of credit anywhere from between 8 and 10%, not like it was during the COVID.
Right.
Where it
Or
was
how
like,
about these little stupid fees that people like, even late fees, like people are like, well, it's no big deal. It's only $10.
right?
Okay. But
Yeah.
add up all those
Oh my
$10.
God. I showed a client the other day who had late fees and all this interest stuff that added up to $3,000. And he said, that's impossible. They're only like $10, $15 a pop. And then I showed him the detail, and there was like, 30, 40, there was like 100, literally $130 charges,
Banks are huge financial institutions because that. I have an ex-wife that before we got married, her bank account had $500 in overdraft fees
Oh,
every single month.
oh
Every
my God.
single month. And people don't pay attention to that. And then you
Right.
get an overdraft fee because you got an overdraft fee that made you even more overdrafted. And it just adds up, and people don't pay attention to how much it's really damaging them.
Interesting. And the other thing I want to talk about is insurance costs. With my clients, insurance costs are getting way out of control. And I'm not recommending what I'm about to say, but I at least want to let business owners know that there is an option out there potentially. And that is, I'm going to say it, I don't know, but self-insuring. And I'm going to tell you why. Here's what I've been finding. And it takes a lot of guts to do this. And that's why I don't recommend it, because I don't think I'd even do it. But with respect to insurance costs, especially liability, there's certain insurance that you have to deal with, workers' comp, for example, that you have to have that. That could go up to the moon, and we really don't have any recourse. But some of these liability insurance policies now are getting really ridiculous. I have clients that every single year their liability insurance is going up 20%. What I see happening though is what you could do. If your liability insurance is like $100,000, you take $50,000 of that, you self-insure, you take $50,000 of it, you put it in a fund, a separate reserve for a potential lawsuit. And here's what I found. Because most of the lawyers' lawsuits are contingency based, and they're contingency based because they know that the insurance companies have this pool of big bucks that they know they'll get. Right? It's certain money. And that's why there's so many contingency cases, because the lawyers know that there's a pot of gold at the end that they can attach, they can grab, they can get. Whereas if you are self-insured, the pot of gold isn't as great. And I've seen situations where lawyers have actually backed off from suing because the pot of gold, there was no insurance to pay it.
Well, perfect example of that in personal life is auto insurance. So I don't know if you know this or not, but if you are properly insured, the judge, if you ever have a lawsuit, will stay within your limits. And if you're not, they won't. So in other words, you could think you're saving money by going for the minimum liability, 10, 15,000 or whatever. And the judge will look at it as like you're underinsured and screw you, I'm going to make you pay. But if you have like 100, 300, that even if this lawsuit's for $1 million, it's going to stay within that 100.
They're going to stay within the range. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And vehicle insurance is something you really, I'm talking strictly liability insurance in terms of trying to self-insure. It's getting ridiculous. I mean, my clients are paying inordinate amounts of money for insurance.
Yeah.
And, they're hesitant to switch because what's happening is their trade association is recommending this certain insurance. And usually when they do that, that usually is the best insurance because they're pooling all these risks. But I don't know if the insurance companies are taking advantage of it. I mean, I was just talking to an arborist. He has this policy that is recommended by the trade. There's a number of risks that are in that pool. The number, the premium should be low, and the premium's increasing 20% this year. I mean, God, it's just insane. So that's been a really, really challenging thing for business owners. And I just want to throw out the concept, just to conceptually throw it out there. I'm not recommending anybody does it, but if somebody has enough fortitude, maybe in fact they might consider it.
You listen, it is a good idea. I agree with you. I own the insurance agency and I still don't self-insure, but it is one of the best ideas.
So anyway, so what I'd like to offer your audience, Dean, is I have a workbook called Cutting Cost and Creating Cost Efficiencies. And it's a step-by-step implementation workbook. It's not just information. It's actually an implementation plan in the workbook. And I'll be happy to offer your audience free of charge simply by going to my website, nextstepcfo.net, and then hit the contact button, fill out the contact form, and in the message box, put cost-cutting workbook. And I'll be happy to send that off to you.
Nice. I think everybody needs that nowadays with the increased prices. You need to do some cost cutting to survive. You need to get rid of that, trim that fat. Okay, because there's a lot of it, and there's a lot of stuff we're spending money on as business owners that we're not getting anything out of it, nor are we even using it.
Right.
It's like adjusting. It's like when the yellow pages were popular. Do you know that most businesses advertised in the yellow pages not because they got business out of it, because they felt they couldn't afford to not be in it, but yet it wasn't producing any money to them, so they were spending a lot of money they didn't need to spend, but it was that psychology of, oh, I have to have it,
Right. Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, Michael's here to tell you, if it's not benefiting you, you don't have to have it. So
you got to track that stuff, because it's otherwise you're not going to be able to make logical decisions. You're going to just make decisions based out of fear, which is what Dean just explained on the yellow page scenario.
There it is. So thanks again, Michael, for some great insight, great advice, and some free information that people need to take advantage of. And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Great to be here, Dean. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.